Hello and welcome to yet another wartime audio review. It's a win-win situation. I will distract myself from the other news and you will learn about an interesting model. And today I have a really interesting model. Not sure if I'll get something more in near future, but it's a flagship from IMR, most expensive model, or actually most expensive of two models in the new Pro lineup. I already told you about Dark Matter. Actually really recommend you to watch this review if you haven't done that already. And today we'll talk about the more expensive one. It's Avalon and its price is £930. It's already sold out because IMR is boutique manufacturer with small runs. But maybe it will be available on second market. Sometimes they have some refurbished sales, so I think if you decide to get this model, you can do it in some foreseeable future. And as usual, IMR offers some discounts for loyal members and so on. In terms of driver set inside, it's also really interesting model. Here used 11mm ADLC nanotube diaphragm dynamic driver, bone conduction motor, and two electrostats with built-in amplifiers. Interesting set of drivers, really promising, and keeping in mind that IMR always can do something interesting with the drivers. I was really anxiously waiting for this model, but then war started and I thought that I will never see them, but actually they were delivered, so thanks to Ukrainian Post for that. We'll see if I'll be able to get something more in some foreseeable future, but we'll see. Let's go right to the review. In terms of package and accessory set, it's what you can expect from IMR with some minor changes, like for the Pro line they decided to use embossed logo instead of that rubber patch here. But it's still that nylon hard case, really convenient for daily usage, and I really like it. It opens with zipper, actually really smooth. Inside you'll get a manual with some information about wearing, with some filter suggestion, some combinations, explanations, so basic information about what you'll get. And here, typical set of tips: 3 pair of silicones, actually 4 pair, one is also on the in-ear monitors, 2 pair of foams, 6.3mm adapter, set of different filters. There are 6 filters for the treble and mids and 8 filters for the bass. So they are each filter consists of 2 parts, so 6 top parts and 8 bottom parts. We'll show them to you in more details a bit later. And nice new addition, they've added leather case to the accessory set. For those who doesn't want to carry all this big bag, you can carry a smaller one. And there are 3 set of cables. So instead of making replaceable jacks, IMR just gave 3 cables: 2.5mm, 3.5mm, and of course a Pentacon one. As you can see, it's a traditional cable, and for each cable you're getting that leather stripe for organization. Let's move it aside. In terms of design, actually Avalon looks almost the same as Dark Matter, with just being slightly thicker because more drivers will fit inside. Great combination of black and gold, looks pretty attractive. Actually design doesn't look super fancy, but for me it looks really expensive because you can get this feeling of nicely machined metal and well done, well built thing. Wearing comfort is good, at least for me, because it's subjective of course, but for me this shape fitting greatly. And I also like the previous shape, but many people complained about that, and IMR decided to roll back to the previous design. Spouts have average length, and actually it's also a filter. I showed this in every review, but anyway, not everyone watching my reviews every single my review. You can unscrew the bottom part and replace it. As you can see, rubber is they have rubber rings, so fit is really great. And also, you know, it's great in terms of machine work, because all that screw connections works softly and pleasantly. And or you can unscrew the top part, only top part, and replace it to adjust the amount of treble and mids. So you're getting 48 combinations of sound in one package, and you can experiment with them. Top part works as a lip for holding the tips, and also it has a protective grill, so all these parts are done nicely and are on their own place. And the cable is made replaceable. Here used 2-pin connectors with recessed sockets, but actually it's not that hard to find third-party cable for this connection. For the Pro line, IMR introduced new cable. It's not super soft, but it looks attractive. It's average in terms of softness. There are ear hooks, of course, to reduce microphonics. I've got comfortable wearing, besides it being not super soft. Nice, attractive look. You can see that it has a PVC coating, and inside there is an interesting black-silver pattern of the wire itself. Here is a splitter with chin slider, and below the splitter it goes loosely braided just to the straight jack. So it maybe doesn't look super fancy, but it works good, and it's built of high quality materials, so IMR created this cable for the Pro line specially. Also for the Pro line models, first buyers, IMR promised to create a new tuning system, but unfortunately due to manufacturing issues there were delays, so they shipped this model as is and promised to send that tuning system later, and everyone is waiting for that too. Anyway, to summarize this part, as you can see in terms of design, build quality and other stuff, these earphones are done really great. And of course about the sound. If you've seen any of my IMR reviews, you can skip next minute or so, because I need to say traditional forward. So, IMR earphones require a lengthy extended burn-in. Not sure about 300 hours recommended on the main website, but I've burned them in for 200 hours, and there were noticeable changes in sound during first 100 hours or so. So if you decide to get them, you definitely need to spend some time burning them in. I know that many people are skeptical about that process. I'm also on the skeptical side of things, but with IMR, changes in sound are pretty obvious. And another thing I always highlighting, you do spend some time experimenting with filters. It's an important part of experience with these earphones, and there is a high probability that you'll find some combination of filters that suit your tastes more than recommended ones. So instead of asking on forums or searching for best filters recommendation, just select what fit your tastes. Some people experiment with cables and with tips, but actually I'm using stock cable and tip, and my combination is red and black, so pretty average in terms of bass, and pretty bright in terms of mids and treble. Not the most extreme combinations for both options, but nevertheless I like this tuning. In terms of sound, actually, you know, they remind me a little bit the previous flagship of IMR, Semper, model that was released some time ago, and here IMR decided to repeat that sound signature, but with newer elementary bass, giving like more modern results. So idea was same, but outcome is different. It's a V-shaped signature with pretty big and noticeable bass. Not probably the most bass head model in the IMR lineup, but still this 11mm driver delivers a lot of bass, and with filters you can select amount from pretty big bass to still noticeable but less accented low frequencies. Bass here has a great punch and impact. It's tight, impactful, goes deep, and you know, it's pretty interesting that dark matter probably use the same dynamic driver, 11 millimeter, but actually they have a slightly less accented punch, so maybe tuning a bit different here. So nice punch, good depth, of course, as much as it's possible in the in-ear monitors. Pretty good resolution, not balanced armatures, but really good for the dynamic driver. Proper amount of overtones for acoustic instruments and other stuff that goes to the low frequency domain, but still low frequencies here is noticeable. They build a solid weighty foundation. Of course they controlled well and stays on their own place, but almost in any cases it's noticeable and pretty big. And first example for the low frequencies, it's Nathaniel Rateliff and Night Sweets. I Need Never Get Old. Nice track, really dynamic, engaging, with constant beats of some big drum, and these earphones deliver it really greatly. You'll get a sense of big kicks into some big drum. And the second example for the low frequencies, it's more traditional electronic music. It's the Glitch Mob, Skullclub. Nice big bass appearing and disappearing, and really greatly performed by these earphones. And on top of that, a lot of interesting experiments, and this band called Glitch Mob, not randomly, they use glitch effects pretty actively, and they also sound really fun. Mid frequencies are slightly behind the low frequencies, but thanks to the bone conduction driver and electrostatic, they are really readable. They have a nice resolution, but at the same time they're not trying to be focused on the micro contrast. There is a slight hint of added weight, but not too much. Of course they don't sound bloated or something like that. Good distribution of weight, nice body for the instruments, for the vocal. Slight accent in the presence area to make female vocal and guitars slightly spicier. So all things here is done to make sound more fun. It's not the model that pretends to be 100% natural. It's more fun, but at the same time it's not boosting dynamics and not giving as forward sound as dark matter. It's more refined and actually a bit more mature, better controlling mid frequencies. Imaginary stage is really big, both in width and in depth. Sometimes it sounds slightly diffuse, but size is definitely big. Of course, also as much as it's possible in the in-ear monitors. They, of course, are critical for the quality of records, so some well-recorded material will be a huge plus here. And first example for the mid frequencies, it's Bridge Across Forever, Transatlantic, super group with super musicians. Record quality is not great, unfortunately, typical for the heavy music, but still pretty nice. Great vocal part and nice instrumental part, requires good resolution and technical sound, and these earphones deliver that really well. And second track, it's Motanka, Ukrainian band. I really like them. Track named Verba, or in Ukrainian Verba. Really recommend you to check out this music video. It was recorded in created and filmed in 2019, but actually it suits modern events even more. But for many hundred years Ukraine suffered from the neighbor, and actually nothing changes even in 21st century, unfortunately. But Motanka are really skillful musicians. They have great shows, they have a lot of theatrical effects, they're using a lot of folk influences, they are great, they have great vocalists, and so perfect in almost any aspect. Many different vocal types, folk parts, heavy parts, so really skillful, and also not perfectly recorded, but pretty nicely, and this earphones delivers that really great thanks to slide forward upper mids area. And treble, it's a pretty typical electrostatic treble, really great extension, goes like maybe not to infinite but noticeably above average, almost to maximum in terms of extension. Good, very good, not perfect but very good layering, slightly lightweight comparing to dynamic driver treble, for example, but at the same time good layering, rich saturated treble for those who like this part of sonic spectrum, giving you all that nuances of instruments, giving that rich overtones, giving small features of the whole where track was recorded, if it's properly recorded, of course. So all that audiophilic mambo jumbo is present here in the treble area. And first example, it's Space Oddity, David Bowie, guitar and vocal goes to the treble area, resonates there nicely and sounds really airy, really engaging here. And second example, pretty obvious, it's Anathema, You're Not Alone. Typical track for modern Anathema, great keyboard introduction, great guitar work, nicely recorded, and all that stuff also goes to the treble area, resonates there really well, and thanks to the performance of treble in these earphones, it sounds really mature. In terms of pairing, they require something good, so period, something from upper mid segment and above, so really good source or some good digital tonal converter here is also recommended. Yes, so you can do some fun experiments like using KN-RU6, for example, but it's more fun, but not it's more for the fun sound, not for like natural sound or something like that. Speaking about the comparisons, actually the only model I will compare is Samper, because they are pretty similar. Other models sound noticeably different. With Samper, it has slightly better textures in low frequencies, slightly less forward mids, but difference isn't huge, and here treble performance is a bit better because that electrostatic drivers here tuned slightly better with better extension. So that was IMR Avalon, really interesting model for those who want to experience some unusual sound, both in terms of drivers used and tuning, and of course that drivers tuned really well, and at the same time they doesn't cost as much as models by more famous companies with the same set of drivers. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day. See you in next reviews, I hope.